So, Jax, we're gonna Facebook Live this. I mean, there are lots of people who wanted to come, and they're out in the mountains, and they got like 18 inches of snow. So, so we're gonna Facebook Live. And is it underway? Awesome. Okay. Hi, all you guys in Facebook land. So, welcome everybody, and thank you for stopping by this morning. My name is Eileen McKusick, and I am going to talk to you about a topic that I call electric health. So what I want to know is, who here would like to have more energy? Who'd like to have less stress?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right? Okay, well, I'm going to share with you some discoveries that I have made that have helped me to have more energy and less stress. Now, I still have stress. We all have stress, and stress is actually really necessary in life. We have to have some degree of pressure on us, or we turn into puddles. But what we want to be able to do is to be resilient in the face of that stress. We want to be able to use that stress to make us stronger, not make us a mess. And the way that I have figured this out isn't necessarily what you'd think. You know, our current wisdom is that if you want to feel better, you should pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth, right? You want to clean up your diet. Who here has been trying to eat clean? Right, most people, right? Trying to eat clean, okay? I have found that eating clean is not enough. Is not enough. That there's another step here that we need to take after we've cleaned up our diet. And that is to start to clean up our biofield, all right? Does anybody know what the term biofield means? One. All right, great. I'm going to explain that to you. So a little bit about me first. I'm the author of a book called Tuning the Human Biofield. This book is based on a master's thesis that I wrote at Johnson State College back in 2011. And then I ended up going with the Vermont publishing house called Inner Traditions, which is not so far from here. And this book has won several awards, and it's also a bestseller. It has been selling very consistently on Amazon since it was published in 2014. And what this book does is it introduces you to the biofield, and it introduces you to my research and my discoveries about the biofield. So, what is the biofield? So who's heard of the human energy? It's pretty much the same thing, except that biofield is the scientific word. And it is actually a term that was chosen by a panel of National Institute for Health scientists back in 1994 to describe the electromagnetic aspect of your body. So who knows that your body is electric? Right. Okay, so most of us know that. Most of us kind of get that our heart is electric, right? You go get an EKG. What is it measuring? It's measuring the electrical output of your heart. If you get a pacemaker, or somebody you know needs a pacemaker, what that is doing is regulating the electrical activity of the heart. Now, our brain waves are also electric. Like, a lot of people know about the different brainwave states, right? You're familiar with delta, alpha, theta, beta, and now they've discovered these gamma waves that are even higher. And there's probably waves higher than that as well. That's all electrical activity. But there's a lot more to the electricity in our body than just our heart and our brain. So it turns out that your whole body is electric. Your bones are crystalline structures that make electricity when they're compressed. Your blood carries a charge. Your fascia that covers all of your muscles transfers electric information. You have little antennas on every cell membrane that are constantly sensing into and reading light and sound vibrations. So the whole communication network in your body, even your collagen microfiber, really the biggest organ in your whole body, is all of the collagen connective tissue that goes through you, and that is a semiconductor. Our bodies are full of salt water, and in essence are batteries. They're batteries. And when we're healthy and we're strong and we have sufficient electricity flowing through our bodies, flowing across our cell membranes, our body takes care of itself. It takes care of itself. What I've discovered is that most people are operating with a low battery. And I've been there. You know, I am 50 years old now, but in 2010, just for an example, I've been studying health and wellness since 1987. I had become a yoga instructor, a massage therapist. I had eaten the cleanest diet you could possibly imagine. And I had gone to all of these workshops. I had read hundreds of self-help books. But I was still overweight. I was still suffering with low energy. I was still fighting with my husband almost every single day. I was still unhappy, kind of low-level depression. And despite and I was broke. I mean, I was like flat broke. And I actually had been for years, like scraping together coins to put in my $800 Subaru. Broke. And it didn't matter how many Think and Grow Rich books I had read. It was not solving the problem. I was not solving my problems. And these are all problems that most of us suffer from in some way or another, right? Low energy, not happy, you know, not feeling good, pain. I had chronic mid-back pain. I had terrible digestion. I couldn't eat anything. I had gas, bloating, indigestion, heartburn, stomach aches practically all the time. Anybody got digestive issues? A lot of people have digestive issues, right? And a lot of people are finding, oh, I can't eat gluten, I can't eat dairy, you know. And so we look to like, what kind of supplement can I take? What kind of talk therapy can I do? Or maybe I need to exercise. I'm going to tell you right now that what I've learned and what I'm going to share with you, okay? I don't exercise. I don't work out in any way. I eat whatever I want. I don't fight with my husband anymore. And I graduated from $800 Subarus. And the way that I did that was not what I expected was going to be my solution. And I'll tell you what it was. Most of us in school learned about 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Did you know there's another state of matter? Has anybody ever heard of this 4th state of matter? What's that? No, that's the 5th state of matter. We're not going to go into that today. Plasma? Although I do talk about it in my book.
Plasma?
Plasma. Plasma. There's a whole other state of matter. And it turns out that 99.999% of the universe is made of this state of matter that we don't learn about. Plasma. So what's plasma?
Ozone.
Plasma is electricity. It's the flow of electricity. So we're supposed to get northern lights tonight. A few days ago, the sun did this big coronal mass ejection, and that is plasma. That is an electrically charged particle that is going from the sun, not just one, many electrically charged particles, coming from the sun, streaming through interplanetary space, and hitting our upper atmosphere. Now, our upper atmosphere is also electric. The Earth has an outer boundary called the ionosphere. Beyond that is the magnetosphere. So everybody's heard of that, right? That is what protects us from too much incoming solar radiation. And it's an area of greater electric charge that forms a boundary. Now, ordinarily, this is kind of like a neon light with no charge going through it. But when we get extra electrical activity from the sun hitting it, it becomes like a neon light, and it goes, the plasma that's up there goes from what we call dark current mode to glow mode, and we see northern lights. And we're supposed to see them tonight here, and it's going to be clear, okay? So northern lights are a plasma. The sun is a plasma. The ionosphere is a plasma. And we live in an electromagnetic environment. It's all around us. It's just like fish don't really get water, probably. We don't really get that we are moving through a magnetic field all the time. And they've just discovered that humans actually have the ability to sense magnetic fields. Just like birds do, right? Birds migrate and that sort of thing are like, oh, they sense where these magnetic field lines are. Well, we have that same capacity. because we are electromagnetic beings. But we tend to just think of ourselves in chemical and mechanical terms. We don't think about the fact that we are electric beings. Now, when you start to think about yourself as an electromagnetic being, and you understand that health, a big part of health, is having a strong electric current going through your body. But what happens to us as we go through our lives is that life kind of sucks the life out of you. Right? I mean, these are kids, right? I'm not getting the life sucked out of you. You know, jobs, bills, there's so many things in our lives that we have to give our energy to. And back in 2010, I was a mom with small kids. I was working, I was going to school. My life was sucking the life out of me. My electric charge was coming up and going out. And what happened as a consequence of that was that I wasn't holding it in my body. The electric charge of my digestive tract, of my musculoskeletal system, was super, super low because I had been overdoing, overgiving, overcommitting, saying yes when I meant no, over and over and over again. Who does that? Yeah. You want to talk about having your battery go low. Get in the habit of saying yes when you mean no. And that's a really hard thing to change. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 100, I just want you to check in with your inner battery right now and ask yourself, where is my inner battery at in this moment? And just see what kind of number pops up. If anybody's got a number, let me know. Who's got a number come to mind? 40. Anybody else?
75.
12.
70.
70? Yeah, anybody else in the back?
That is low.
Low. Yeah, most people's batteries are low. And so here's the thing, most people's electric charge, electric current, or what I call your voltage, is really low. So where does this energy go? Well, my research over the last 23 years, I've been doing something kind of weird. I've been using tuning forks. And a tuning fork is simply an acoustic frequency generator. Now, I know that there are some people in the Christian world who said to me, oh, tuning forks, those are of the devil. and I've been like, no, those are pitchforks. That's a totally different thing. Tuning fork is just a tone generator. And what I have been doing with them is using them kind of like sonar, or pretending that I'm a dolphin or a bat. And I have approached people's bodies and activated a tuning fork, bounce sound off of them, and listen to the signal that comes back. I've been doing this for 23 years. And what I've discovered is that your body actually has a magnetic field. Anything that has an electric current running through it has a magnetic field around it. This is the biofield. And magnetic fields actually guide and inform electric currents. And what I found in all of this sort of sonar bouncing and listening was that this pattern actually emerged. And I discovered that our biofield actually has a very specific anatomy and physiology. So just like they've mapped the brain and they figured out different parts of your brain do different things, I've mapped the field, and I've discovered that, you know, different memories reside in different areas of our field. Different emotions, when we feel them. So you think about an emotion, when you feel sad, that's a particular feeling in your body. It's also a waveform. And we're going to put a name on it. We're going to say, oh, that's sadness. But that is your body in motion producing a specific waveform or pattern of sadness. And what I discovered was that I kept finding, and this is a really interesting thing that tuning forks do, is that your body, everything's in motion. Everything in motion makes waves, and waves propagate, right? Ever gotten a bad vibe off somebody? Right? Because their body is, you know, moving like that, and it's generating waves, and you've got little antennas on your cells, and you're picking up their vibe, right? And that's not intuition, people. That is just a normal sense. We have a magnetic medium between us that waves travel through. We have the ability to sense magnetic fields. We have the ability to sense vibration. It's not just lock and key on your cell membrane. It is sensory. What we call intuition is not a sixth sense that some women may have. It is a biological reality of your body. And I have never asked anyone if they've gotten a bad vibe off somebody and they've said, no. Like, everybody senses vibes. It's just real. And so what's cool is that anytime you have waves and meeting waves, you have that interference pattern where those waves meet. And that's what makes the tuning fork so useful, is because the waves being produced by the tuning fork intersect the waves coming off the body. And in that intersection, you can hear what's going on in the body. You can actually hear if somebody is feeling sad and they're giving off sad vibes, and you get a tuning fork near them, the fork will sound sad. It'll sound sad. You'll hear it, and like, oh, it'll evoke in you a feeling of sadness. You'll resonate with it. And so this principle of wave intersection is what allowed me to map the whole field. And I discovered several things. One, that different emotions or different states of mind kind of have their place within the field. So if people have a pathology in a particular area, for example, right hip, very common. Anybody has some right hip issues? Yeah, it's a pretty normal thing, especially in America. What I discovered is that the right hip, when people develop problems with the right hip, they have had a tendency to overthink and overdo. And so they're running more energy in their magnetic field out here. And that is that imbalance in their mind, in their habits, is pulling their magnetic field off to the side, which means the energy of your field that is supposed to inform your body and give it order, structure, and function has now gone over to stage right instead of being here. So the tuning forks act diagnostically in that they help me to find areas of imbalance, tonal imbalance in the magnetic field. But what's very cool is that they also produce a magnetic charge that allows me to actually move around the body's magnetic field, to actually move around your mind, okay? So what that means is that if I'm pinging your field and I find a particular area where there's a lot of energy that's not supposed to be out here, I can grab a hold of it with a tuning fork, like you might use a magnet to move iron filings, and I can bring it back into position. Call this an adjustment. Kind of like a chiropractic adjustment, except that we're moving your field. Now, magnetic fields guide electric current, so when you get your magnetic field in order, the electricity flows through your body correctly. And it can very often correct pain or discomfort like that. Now, what happens is when we experience stress or trauma in life, we tend to feel very strong emotions. We might feel very sad. We might feel very angry. We might feel very powerless. We might feel like a victim. We start energizing those parts of our field. And that energy, if we don't resolve those emotions, if we don't express emotions, if we don't find healthy ways to channel that energy actually starts to get stuck in our field. And the more trauma and the more stress people have had, the more the energy that's supposed to be running coherently and strongly through the physical body itself starts to drift out into the magnetic field and get stuck in clumps. And I know that sounds a little odd, but I've trained over 1,500 people in the method of biofield tuning, which is simply a process of combing through the field, finding this stuck energy, and moving it back into the midline of the body. And when you do that, because this is all like little bits of fire, little bits of plasma, you know, and especially if you had a really hard time with your parents and you've had a lot of adrenal stress, the energy that's supposed to be in here, firing your digestive tract, is spread out like peanut butter. across your field. And you feel, ugh, and your gut feels, ugh. But all of that can be brought back into your body, and it can be focused, and can become much stronger. And in a way, you don't even necessarily need tuning forks to do it, because you can actually, to some degree, do it with your mind and your imagination. Just by recognizing when you are doing this, when you are saying yes when you mean no, when you are overindulging some kind of mental or emotional pattern. See, here's the thing, is that people don't think about their mental and emotional energy as currencies. At the beginning of the day, you only have so much currency to spend. And what most people are doing is they are spending that energy mentally with a mind that they feel like they can't control. Who feels like they can't control their mind? It's got a monkey mind, right? That goes and goes. That sucks a ton of juice. That sucks a ton of juice. Your brain is already using 70% of the glucose that you're producing. If you've got what I call a hamster wheel, you got a little hamster spinning in there, Mach 10. He's sucking juice out of your body. Big time, right? If you are emotional, if you have emotions that you can't control, if you have anxiety, anxiety is running your energy at twice the speed that it needs to. Right? When you could be like that, and instead you're like that. So what is happening to us is that we're trying to take supplements and drink celery juice in order to solve what is ultimately an energetic problem, a mental or emotional problem. One of my students told a funny story recently. She said that she had been shopping at the mall, and she got in the car and was heading home, and as she's driving home, she reached into her purse to get her phone, and it wasn't there. Right? Yeah. And so she immediately started freaking out, just like, ah, right? But then, now she's been around me a bunch, and she's heard me talk. She said, I realized I might as well be throwing $20 bills out the window as I'm driving down the highway. Because while I'm freaking out and my adrenals are going off, I am spending huge amounts of my energy. And I don't want to do that. This is a valuable currency. I'm not going to throw it out the window. And she reined it in. And she made up her mind that she was going to find it. She turned around and went back to the last store she had been at, and they had it, and they gave it to her. Problem solved, right? But she very consciously reined in that response. Now, we do this all the time, right? Politics, relatives, spouses, kids. I mean, how many things are you letting get your goat? How many things in your life, where are you throwing $20 bills of energy out the window? No amount of supplements is going to put back that energy. It's mental. It's emotional. This is the big elephant in the room that nobody's talking about. Most of our problems are emotional. And it isn't the experiencing of the emotions that's the problem. What do you think it is? What do you think creates a problem? Not the experiencing, but the response. The suppressing. The suppressing of emotions. One of the things I say is that one of the biggest things that I treat is emotional constipation. Here's the thing. We grow up in a culture that really doesn't allow us to have emotions. When we're growing up, especially as women, we're told that it's not okay to get angry. Nice girls don't get angry. If you ever say, I hate something, I mean, didn't you get jumped on for that? Your parents were like, oh, no, don't hate anything. Hate's a very bad word. Right? And they were like, oh God, I can't hate anything. I can't ever express hate because that's not ladylike. Or even things like rage. shame. It's a lot easier to blame somebody else and to be like, oh, it's your fault that I feel this way. and rather than to like actually feel the shame of our own story, whatever that is. There's many, many emotions that we don't allow ourselves to feel or to express. And every time an emotion arises in you that you don't allow, it goes somewhere in your body. But this is, for an example, a woman named Candace Pert determined a number of decades ago that every time we feel a particular emotion, that it generates a molecule in our body. And those molecules go into circulation in our body. Now, it's the destiny of an emotion to express itself. Emotion, in motion. The emotion is generated, it's like a waveform. It rises up. Ideally, it crests into our awareness. It finds expression in some way, and then it falls away. If an emotion is generated and starts to rise up and you go, oh God, that's really bad, that cannot come up, and you push it back down. Whether you use sugar, that was my go-to. I used to have a serious, hardcore sugar addiction. And every time I started to get angry, I didn't even realize I was getting angry, I interpreted it as a sugar craving. Now, sugar is what I call a liver pacifier. And so if you start to get angry and you eat some sugar, nice couple brownies, maybe, it's gonna take that anger, it's gonna settle it right back down again. There's no end of stuff. You know, it might not be sugar, it might be buying boots. Any ladies like to buy boots? I like to buy boots. You know, there's a lot of different things. It can be just zoning out in front of Netflix. There's a lot of different ways. You know, our culture is so full of ways. Like, if you are going through grief and you're having a genuine experience of grief and you go to a doctor, what are they going to do? They're going to give you a pill to suppress that feeling. In fact, our entire capitalist culture is built on you dealing with your emotions with stuff. What you can put in your mouth, or what you can put in your closet, or what you can put in your garage. We don't learn what healthy emotional expression looks like. So we're managing our emotions in all the wrong ways. We're trying to suppress them instead of letting them flow. And every time that you experience an emotion, it starts to rise up and you suppress it. It goes into your field. It goes into your thighs, ladies. It goes into your butt as molecules, right? It does. Because it's got mass. It's a substance. It's a thing. And so a very big part of getting healthy, of getting your battery meter up, is to really start to pay attention to the emotions that you're feeling and to be curious about them and to allow them. Now, if you have a child who was really sad about something and they came to you and they're like, I'm really sad about this, are you going to be like, scram, I don't freaking care what you have to say, I don't want to hear it. Go find some corner to sit in with that shit, right? You're not going to do that. I mean, most of us aren't. Right? Most of us are going to be like, well, let's hang out and talk about this, talk this through, and let you cry, and then what's going to happen with the kid after that few minutes of processing? What's going to happen? Yeah, they're going to be better, right? They're going to be fine. Kids naturally move their emotions through. Adults don't. And so part of where your battery has gone to is all stuck in these emotions in your field and in your body that you have not allowed to move through. All right? So one way, and probably the biggest way, to start to raise your energy, start to raise your battery, is to be curious and allow emotions to come up. Now, some of them are scary and whatever, you know, there's definitely different ways to manage different emotions, and if you want to talk about specific emotions when we're done and what to do with them, I can definitely help. I got all kinds of different tools and techniques for that. Another way that you can get your energy up is to speak only truth. How does that make you feel? Thinking about speaking only truth. And that That means like not even like those little like, oh, I can't meet you because da 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 da. Right? I mean, don't we all do that sometimes? There's always that temptation to tell that little white lie. Don't. Don't. Because here's the thing, your thyroid plays a pretty big role in your health too. Your thyroid, right? And so what I found working with, and I've worked with thousands of clients. I had an incredibly successful practice as a one-on-one sound therapist. Believe it or not, in the middle of Johnson, the middle of nowhere, right? No sign on my door. My practice became so busy that I actually had to shut it down. Couldn't handle booking 6 months out. And so now I have lots of people who do this work for me, lots of practitioners. And I actually work with groups. Now, believe it or not, I do, through the ether, I do group audio sessions. And people claim that that really helps them. But the thyroid gets low. And do you know that thyroid medication is the #1 prescribed medication in this country? It's not antidepressants. It's thyroid medication, all right? When the impulse to speak arises in us and we block it, that impulse generates stuff that has mass. And if you don't spit it out, it starts to pile up here. Has anybody ever suffered from vertigo? Yeah. So what I discovered with vertigo is all the emotion, all the creativity, all your whatever got generated and wants to be expressed, that hasn't, starts to pile up over here. And it gets unwieldy and we get dizzy. Because this is where energy goes when it arises to be expressed and it's not. It piles up. It doesn't move through here like it's supposed to, energizing the thyroid on its way through. You can have the opposite problem where you do go to speak, and you might have a mate who invalidates everything you say, or older siblings. I had a bunch of those, and so or kids, right? I remember my mom saying all the time about us when we were teenagers, "I might as well be talking to the wall." And so when you have that experience of speaking but not being heard, when what you're saying isn't landing, it's being deflected back, that energy kind of piles up and spins here. A lot of people alternate between not saying anything and when they do, it's not being heard. And I can guarantee you that person has low energy because it's not flowing where it's supposed to. Right? You might have heard about how people's chakras get blocked. You know, but the reason why energy centers that we're supposed to love from or move from or be creative from isn't because it's blocked here. It's because the energy that's supposed to be flowing through here is stuck somewhere in the field, stuck somewhere in the body. Okay, so tell the truth, feel your emotions, sing, tone. Sing. This is the biggest way, I think. Singing and dancing is getting sound moving through your body. And they've discovered that phonons, kind of like the sound equivalent of a photon, has negative mass, which means that maybe that's not the right word, it has negative gravity. It has, sound waves fall upwards. Sound waves have lift. And so when you dance or sing or bathe yourself in sound, you are putting uplifting energy into your body. And that raises your battery. That raises your battery. Now, other things that help are biofield tuning. We have a clinic here in Burlington where you can receive sessions of this method that cleans out your field. You know, I can honestly say I have huge amounts of energy. I can eat anything that I want. I don't exercise, and I really don't even eat very many vegetables. And people are always so horrified to hear that. They're like, "Oh my God, Eileen," even my kids. Like, I grew up, wouldn't eat vegetables. My mom was like, "Eat your vegetables." And my husband was like, "Eat your vegetables." And now my teenage sons are like, "Mom, eat your vegetables." Okay? I'm having proof you can be healthy without green smoothies. I eat egg sandwiches, egg, bacon, and cheese on a bagel. I think of my digestion like an incinerator, like a wood stove. And I think about food like wood. And any kind of food is just embodied light and heat from the sun. And when you put that in, if you have a strong, healthy digestive tract, it's going to incinerate, it's going to turn it back into heat. I don't believe that food makes me fat. This is a story. It's a completely different way of looking at it. I can eat whatever I want now. And I believe that anybody can. Once you get your digestive fire, your biofield clear, strong, centered, and grounded, you become an incinerator. You become a strong person. I also invented a tool that I'm going to share with you. Something that you can use to bring the power of sound home and start working on yourself. Now, this is a tuning fork. It's called the Sonic Slider. And it is the 12th harmonic of the Schumann resonance. That's the frequency. The Schumann resonance is a pulse of about 7.83 hertz. That is the electrical activity of the Earth. Because the Earth is electric. This is all electric, right? And there's a continual background pulse of 7.83 hertz going on. This is 7.83 times 12. And I played with a lot of different frequencies over the years. This one is, to me, the most pleasing, kind of most wonderful one I've ever created, because I've created lots of prototypes. When I created this to use on my face, actually, because I was starting, turning 50, I'm like, oh God, I'm starting to look like Clint Eastwood. And so I started using it on my face, and I just developed this protocol, my face, my neck. After just a few weeks of using it, I was in a meeting on a video call meeting, and my colleagues were like, Eileen, what did you do to your face? I was like, aha, a new invention. So that was pretty cool. After using it on my face for a couple months, I decided to experiment with using it on my body. Now, for years, I had gotten over my sugar addiction. I ate when I was hungry. I stopped when I was full. But I was still carrying about 20 pounds of water weight that I just could not get rid of. As soon as I started using this tuning fork on my body, and I'll just show you kind of how it works, I went from a size 6 to a size 2 in 5 weeks. Now, I'm an outlier. Part of the reason why I dropped so much weight so quickly was because I had so much tuning that I wasn't holding emotional tension in my body. Emotional tension creates water weight, it creates fat, and how many people do you know who exercise, who don't eat very much, but really struggle to lose weight, right? A lot of people do that. And it's because you have fascia knots that are impeding fluid flow. And what started happening when I started using this fork, and basically what you do is you just slide the handle of it on your body. You activate it and you slide it along. And what it does is it stimulates your bones with mechanical energy. It puts energy into your bones. It gets your fascia to release. It gets your blood and your lymph to all start flowing. Not only that, but it also increases muscle tone. Now, I don't work out. I don't have any bat wings, like nothing. You can come up here and poke and they don't jiggle at all. I am not lifting weights, ladies. I am putting tone into my body with this work. It has completely changed my body. It has changed the way I feel. Now, it's not just me, because I've sold thousands of these at this point. And people everywhere are using them, and they're all reporting the same thing. They have more energy. They feel more even keeled. Their mood is improved. Friends are asking them if they've had work done. It tightens, it smooths, it sculpts, and it gives you an opportunity to practice some self-care and some self-love. Because when we're so busy taking care of everybody else, are we taking care of ourselves? No. It's really hard to get in a practice of self-care. So one of the things that you can do with this, the amazing thing about this fork, is that you can use it for 5 minutes twice a day, and you notice the difference. Notice a difference in how you feel, you notice a difference in how you look. And I would encourage you, if you get one, because we have a booth where we're doing little mini biofield tuning sessions, so you get to receive a session and feel what that feels like. And we also have these available. You want to do it with an affirmation. I love my beautiful, healthy body. I started using the affirmation, I have the body of a teenager. And I went back down to the size I was when I was 14. Our minds and what we tell ourselves is such an important part of what creates it. And we all know this, right? Think and Grow Rich, like we all heard about affirmations. What we don't realize is that every single thought and every single thing you say is an affirmation. So you've got to be really careful about what you're thinking and what you're saying, because every single word is creative. And if you are taking that hate you weren't allowed to express as a child and you are hating on yourself, I hate my thighs, I hate my belly, I hate my hair, nothing changes except for when it's loved. We don't hate ourselves into beauty. We don't hate ourselves into health. We don't punish ourselves into perfection. We love ourselves. We love ourselves. And so when you combine good self-talk, self-love, and putting in sound at the same time, you have a prescription for starting to get your energy up. Okay? All right, we don't have time for questions right now because we have to trade out the room, but I will be at the booth. And so if anybody wants to come over and talk, or we can talk right outside while this next talk is starting. All right, thank you. Did you disconnect it?
No, I want to see you drink water first.